is to create a low-cost food grinder for places where it's or equivalent garbage disposals are either unavailable or too expensive. They've been marked up anywhere from 2 to 5 times in other countries, and that is a big problem. They're considered a luxury item rather than a necessity, and we think food grinding is a necessity. So Douglas and Nikita and Nikolai here at the farm in Dio are working on behalf of Ukrainian refugees and Ukrainian families to find low-cost ways using local materials to grind up the food. As we mentioned in our earlier attempt at this, he did do bread effectively using a paint mixer, and this one was about €2.50. This was about €15, as I understand. A bit more higher quality and sharper edges, so it'll probably work better. Our idea was to put it in the same 100 millimeter pipe that we have on the biodigester and use that as the sort of container and cheese grater wall that the incinerator normally has, and then this is the spinning plate inside the incinerator, albeit upside down. It should work to a certain extent, but we're going to drill holes into it so that we can let the ground material flow into the bucket. That's the idea, and we're using the smallest hole saw that we have. And hello to our friends in New Zealand. Some people in New Zealand watching. New Zealand, I was called the gas father, like the godfather of small biogas. I love New Zealand. We want to visit very much and continue this work there. So Douglas, go ahead and let's drill our first hole. Series of holes all the way up and down is probably the best thing.
Opposite sides maybe too?
Yes, for sure. There you go. And I would be going in a sort of random pattern up and down. Randomness isn't a pattern, is it? In a sort of random way. So that as the food is turned around, my thought is that it will act somewhat like a cheese grater because the PVC sides are somewhat sharp. Like if you look at, this is kind of a cutting edge here. So as you grind, if we have enough of these holes and we don't destroy the integrity of our pipe, then that can help with the grinding, I imagine.
Did get it plastic stuck, but we can do more.
Yeah. I mean, the more there are without compromising the integrity, the better a grind that we're going to get. And if they're up and down as well. We note that if you buy the cheap one, then you don't have the sharp cutting surfaces. You do have what looks like a bit of a blade here and here on this side and this side, but not as sharp, and these aren't as sharp either. But when you look at the more expensive one, then you can see, oh, Murray, it's Murray Duncan. Yeah, he's marvelous. Thank you, Murray. Murray says, come on down. You know, who's in New Zealand right now is Dan Kinzer and his whole family. Dan Kinzer, Murray, I doubt there's time to hook you up. He may be going back to Hawaii. But Dan Kinzer, we built biodigesters with in Hawaii at Punahou High School, and then with the local indigenous community with Joe McGinn. And so we've been doing biodigesters with Dan, and now he's working with us on the Florida Wildlife Corridor curriculum in XR, Extensible Reality, where we hope to include biodigesters as a solution to protecting wildlife by eliminating human-wildlife conflict, because in Florida and in other areas, there's always the problem of people going camping or being in residences and having food waste around, which attracts bears and other endangered or threatened wildlife, and then there's a human-animal conflict, and it often leads to the loss of that wildlife. Whereas we've found that when you grind up food waste, whether you put it in a biodigester or not, wildlife are not interested at all. No rats, no flies, no roaches, no smells, no so-called vermin, no charismatic megafauna. They just all leave it alone. The chickens leave it alone. So the grinding oxidizes and hydrolyzes the food waste so quickly that apparently eliminates the odor signals that attract wildlife. And so instead of having these big cages, which you see in Lake Tahoe, for example, when we visited Byron DeLear there, or in Jackson Hole Wildlife Area, Yosemite, the Grand Tetons, everywhere we've been, where there's wildlife, or Botswana with the baboons. Everywhere there's conflict with wildlife, it's because they come because they smell the food waste. And once you've ground it, the smell is eliminated. Now that's true with a incinerator rotating at 1700 RPM and effectively breaking open the cell walls so that the enzymes in the vacuoles and can act, and the oxidation and the hydrolytic process. We don't know if a paint mixer is going to do that. So we just don't know. But this does have a better blade, as I was saying, a better blade here, a better blade there. It's sharper. These edges are sharper as opposed to this one here. So you would probably want to spend the extra money. The 15.
The weld is better.
The weld is better. Okay.
And so I think you could definitely sharpen this with a grinder.
Mm-hmm.
Get it pretty darn sharp. Same with these little teeth here, which have a little bit of an angle, as you can see. So we'll see if it works.
Yeah. And then I think probably we need a few more of these. I would put a hole here. I'd have a hole sort of up and down without, like I said, making it too weak. Think of this as a spinning vortex, and if the food is being spun and it's hitting these sharp edges from the inside, if there's a sort of helical, you sort of do have a helix, don't you? I would just put a few more in there, because we're going to count on those holes to act as grinding surfaces, as blade surfaces. So let's do a couple more as well. So the food really has no choice but to encounter these blades, because that's how the incinerator works. It has this, really the grinding is done by the cylinder. It's not done by the plate. The plate does have throw lugs that have a bit of an edge to them that are a bit sharp, but it's the fact that it's throwing them against the cheese grater that makes it work. And I think that's the process, because we can lift this up and down to do the throwing, and knowing that it's also going to encounter these blades. And we encourage all those of you in our family of biogas inventors and practitioners to take up these ideas, and let's find the least expensive way to give everybody access to grinding food waste, whether they have a biodigester or not. It accelerates composting. When you grind it up, we know with an incinerator, we get compost in 3 to 6 days rather than 3 to 6 months, because of that breaking open of the cell walls and the reduction in size, which increases surface area to volume. So grinding is a big solution for people composting, great for soil formation, and certainly great for biodigesters for accelerating the process. So we really need our community to have our community come together and find really cheap solutions. We've tried mortars and pestles. In Tanzania, we used a big wooden mortar and pestle that the community has for grinding cassava. In Nigeria, there was a mechanical cassava grinder. Most farms have one, but those are fairly expensive machinery. So many different possibilities.
How about electricity? I mean, this is obviously going to require some electricity too.
Right, right. And that's why the mortar and pestle was the preferred option, where there wasn't any electricity. The bicycle incinerators, the bicycle ones that we developed were very useful, because you can get up to 1700 RPM. It was Mike Kellerman and the team at Incinerator who developed the bicycle incinerators, and all we did is take the motor out of a standard incinerator, and because the bottom has this little sprocket hole where you put in the Allen wrench if it gets jammed, we just put a Allen wrench key inside and put it in the differential gear and hooked it to the bicycle wheel, so the wheel was turning a friction disc or friction cylinder that then turned the gear, and then that turned the little sprocket key.
So how many more holes do you think?
When I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, well, it's still pretty intact. I would put one there. Most of our work is going to be done probably at the bottom. So the more we can pack in the bottom without damaging it, the better off we are.
Usually, I don't know the case about plastic, but with wood, usually you don't want to have holes that are any closer than the diameter of the hole.
Oh, yeah, right.
So maybe PVC is the same?
Yeah, probably. And maybe let's get one here. There's a lack of one there. Down near the bottom, Amy. I see room for one in the middle there.
Here?
A little higher. No, down there.
Right there?
Yep. And that also, because there's holes, it's going to make the food fall as it's ground, right? Which is good. So, all right, very good. Can you continue this? Holding this? Okay. So our first test will be putting this like this, taking the food. Now remember that in the digester as it is now, it's just a 100 millimeter pipe, and so everything has to fit in that 100 millimeter pipe. We don't have a funnel on this. We should get a funnel. Yeah, because then it'd be easier to pour it in. This is a little difficult, and people are going to be discouraged from doing this if there's not a funnel. And it should be a removable funnel. It shouldn't be glued, I think. And you can keep it on to keep the splashing for sure.
I think actually finding a funnel solution that's cheap would also be a good.
Oh yeah, because that thing was 30 euro.
Yeah.
What we did in Kenya, at Kenya Nataya's Maasai areas, we went into town and there was a smith who made tin, and he just had sheets of tin, and he would weld them into anything you wanted. So we had a funnel made out of tin, and that was the cheapest solution in Kenya. I think that's all we can do for now. Pouring water in, we'd have to pour water in this bucket, and I think we should. The hose is, well,
Can you hold this a second? I'm about to turn the stove off.
wait, we want to keep it going, but I'm going to go fill this with water. Maybe you can talk to the good people.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, probably fill it up to about 3/4 of the bucket or 2/3 of the bucket.
Yeah. And we were talking about splashback.
Yeah.
Hopefully we don't have too much of that, you know,
Because
from
we have this to contain it.
yeah, from that.
Yeah, maybe. And with the funnel, it'll be even better.
Yeah.
For sure.
So you would take the funnel off to grind.
Maybe not. If you can fit your hand into it, I wouldn't.
Okay.
We'll probably leave it. Now ours is glued over there, so we can't do anything with it. But if we go up to here, that's a little over, that's maybe going up to 2/3, and that should not, that seems to be okay. Okay. Yeah, it'd be great to visit Duncan down in the land down under New Zealand. My cousin just became a New Zealand citizen. He gave up his American, my cousin Charles, and he's living in Wellington right now, but he's purchased some land out in the hinterground like you have here in Kent, and he intends to go off grid and completely abandon the city. So he's invited me to come and build biodigesters once his land is ready. And he's like, you should just come and become a New Zealand citizen with me. So we built biodigesters together in California and in Seattle.
Who is that?
Charles.
Ah, your cousin.
Yeah. So here we go. I'm pressing it down. So the problem is I'm really compressing it. And I probably should have put the food waste in over it rather than under it. Because this, you want to give it a try, see how it feels? It feels like I'm just compressing it. Now the question, well, I'd have to empty the water out. It also looks like we probably need some more holes. But let's see if we just go with this thing, leave it in there now. It's just acting as a bottom. If we put this stuff in over it like this, and see how it, can you show here? See how there's holes. That's going to act as the actual grinding surface. And this is just going to spin it. This is to use the incinerator model. And they have their plate underneath, right? That's how it works. So now we simulate that. Oh, great. Well, I don't know. Something happened because it's no longer on top of it, and it is come out the sides as you predicted. So that may be, we may be onto something here, Doug.
Well, it's definitely got some nice floating bits here that are smaller than the original. So
Yeah, and they had to have passed either down the bottom because I'm not pressing hard enough.
I don't know.
That is pretty good.
It's pretty good.
For what you have, huh?
I think we got a solution here, folks.
And we can play
With
with
that-
different
Step
diameter.
back.
When you sharpen the blade,
Yeah, it is the holes that are doing it. It ain't the chicken. But look, it's all gone.
What might be fun is to try different size holes, combination of holes.
Holes, right. So let's do that. Let's put some different size holes, because what I see here now,
that's good. And is
I
that-
do need to turn this over because this stuff didn't get it at all.
Oh.
So what we see, and this is really interesting, is that you've got to top load it. We got to take this out, right? Because that didn't do a darn thing. Look at that. That's just a mass, right? So that didn't do
So
anything.
these are the biggest pieces, but these might have fallen out when you lifted it
Right.
too. So.
So now the idea that this is what we're conforming on, and let's paper, put that back in there. Paper does come apart, so yes, tissue paper. What is a problem, and we shouldn't have done that, is tea bags. Tea bags work perfectly well in
compost.
compost, and they work perfectly well in the incinerator, but the string is getting caught up, so we can't put any tea bags in. All right, so now our protocol is to put this down first, then feed.
Really curious about that banana peel.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. And then maybe we need another hole here,
Where?
right there.
Right there. Okay.
Yeah,
Have to do that after.
okay.
We even have some, what is that? Lavender?
Lavender. Okay, I'm going to try. Cool.
Oh,
So we've got to have a way of fixing this, and I'm afraid I'm going to cut my fingers if I do this.
Yeah.
Could you put a stick through here?
Sure.
There you go. Yep, and you can hold on to that, and I can. I'm lifting this up a bit. Try to get at it. Survey says we're in pretty good shape. Let's take it out. Let's see what we got here.
oh.
That's
Yeah.
not bad.
That's
Oh,
This is
duh, why did
bad.
I do that? There's a bit of banana peel stuck to it that didn't
Uh-huh.
get done. We'll try to do that in a second. Anything else in there?
the paper's getting wound around it, but it's still breaking
It's because
up.
of the strings.
Ah, the string. I didn't see that.
String.
And looks like the lavender stem.
Yeah.
But
But
it's
this
always
is good
even in an instant creator, we used to have a problem
with
with
strings.
strings and
So banana
stems.
peel in. A stick. Let's use this stick. Okay. Is that a good shot? Can you see it well? Stick out. Still having some trouble with that.
The banana.
Yeah, maybe that it needs more holes or
Or sharper blades.
Sharper
we haven't
blade.
tried sharpening it at all.
And running it along the side too, which does seem to help.
I think more holes would be good.
Yeah, more holes.
And smaller holes, you know. That,
Yeah.
But if it's sharper, this banana wouldn't
But a lot of
last
this
that
is
long,
because
no?
of the string that's in it. We've got to try other bananas.
What
later.
if it's sharper also?
True.
The blades will cut the banana faster.
That's true. Smaller holes with bananas. Well, what are we seeing here? Pretty darn good. I mean, that's, with the exception of this bit of banana peel, which is just really tough anyway. Like I can't even tear it with my hands easily. But that's really good. Let's bring it over to the biodigester and give it a morning feed. Nothing shabby about that at all, dude.
Did not give that one.
Didn't get that? I think, folks, we have a really good solution that is low cost and accessible to everybody.
Do you want me to film you all this way?
Yeah.
We can pass it over
Pass it
to
over.
the
to Fran.
Wi-Fi.
Oh, pass it over?
Yeah.
I don't know if we lose Wi-Fi.
If we lose Wi-Fi, then we will take videos and pictures for you. But surely, once again, we appreciate Duncan and everybody else who's watching and is continuing to innovate and practice with us. Yeah, it works great. It's one of the hallelujah moments.
Wow, that looks good.
Yeah, way better
Oh.
than just.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's all in. Look.
You're
at
still
that.
filming, you're still online, so.
Good.